All right, welcome to the kitchen. So let's get started with these grilled yams or sweet potatoes. Okay, let's just start there for a little bit. Mostly what we all call yams are really sweet potatoes, and what we call sweet potatoes are really yams. And most of us eat sweet potatoes when we think we're eating yams and have probably never even had a yam, but that's okay. So there's a huge variety of all kinds of potatoes and yams and sweet potatoes out there that a lot of us have had few access to because stores kind of carry what they carry. So this recipe works good whether you have a yam or a sweet potato. Now, when I grew up, we actually had, this darker skin ones that we see all the time now, which are actually sweet potatoes. We didn't have those in Pennsylvania when I was growing up, or my mom never seemed to buy them. She always had the lighter skin yellow ones, which we called sweet potatoes, which I since have found out are actually yams. So it doesn't matter which ones you use. You can use these or you can use the lighter skin ones. So here's what you do. Now this recipe is best if you take a little time with it and you can do some of the prep the day ahead. So the first thing is you take your sweet potato / yam, give it a good bath, and make sure you take off any of the peels or the little stickers, and you're gonna boil them. So that's the first part. And the boiling happens with the skins on. So skins on, you're gonna find yourself a pot, put the potatoes in there. Oops, I've got my oven on. That's getting ready for the pecans. Okay, and then you want to fill this up until it covers your sweet potatoes. Okay, and then we're going to boil this. And you want to have it at, bring it up to a boil and then a low boil. The time really depends. If you're having small potatoes like this, it's going to be about a half hour. And if they're bigger, maybe 40 minutes. And if you have a really big pot with a whole bunch of potatoes in there, it might take you 45 minutes or even an hour. You don't want it to rolling boil it the whole time. You want to have it like a soft boil. Okay, now how do you know when they're done? The best way you're going to know when they're done is when a knife goes in nice and easily. So these are ones that I did earlier. So they were boiled. And while they're in the pot and you're cooking them, just take a knife and make it a little bit of a sharp knife. Put the knife down into your potato. If it gets stuck, not done yet. If it goes in and mushes all around, overdone. Okay? So we're looking for that place where the knife goes in, all the way in. You're good to go. At that point, remove the potato from the pot and put them on a plate. Now here's the thing, this is what you can do the day ahead. You could do that part all the day ahead, and actually I think that works out best. And then just stick these in the refrigerator because you do want them nice and cold by the time we're gonna do the next step. Now, if you don't have time to do that, you can throw them in the freezer for a little bit and they'll harden up too. Okay, don't freeze them, but just get them nice and cold. All right, so day 2. Or later that day, you have your sweet potato. And what we're going to do is peel them. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but some of the most nutrients are actually found in the skin and right under the skin of vegetables. So whenever possible, I try to eat the skin of vegetables. But for this particular recipe, I like to peel. So at least take the 2 ends off. You can make a nice little slice down right along the skin. And you may, depending on how they cooked, be able to just pull the skin away and peel the skin like that. Okay? If that doesn't work, then you might have to kind of do the peel thing. But if they've been cooked just the right amount, the skin should come off pretty easy. So this part should not take too long. Okay? Skin's off. So again, I take off the ends. Okay? Take a sharp knife, just cut right down. We'll see if this one peels as well. And grab the skin, and the skin should peel right off. And sometimes they don't peel as well as the others, and that's okay too. And you'll notice they do kind of take the area right under the skin off. So that makes it peel a little bit simpler. If you want to try these with the skin on, that's fine too. I'll just tell you they tend to be a little bit more bitter. That area right under the skin, and the skin can be bitter, especially when they're boiled like this. So do that, but you might not be as happy with how they turn out. All right, so then the next step after this, now we have our nice cold sweet potato that's been peeled. And now you just want to cut it into slices. And I've gone ahead and cut these already, so you can see these are all nicely cut. I even left the skin on one. But really simply, you can use your same knife or you can use a big chef's knife. Either way is fine. And we want to just take some nice thin cuts. Now, not too thin. We want them to be about 1/2 inch or so, okay? And you know that you've cooked them just right when they hold up like this, okay? So they're not all crumbly, they're just a nice slice. That's how you know you got them at the right consistency when you pulled them out of the water. If they've gone too much and you have yourself a big ball of mush, that's okay. Just go ahead and make whipped yams. I'll tell you the secret. When I used to teach cooking classes, you know, I told all my classes, I said the trick to being a great chef is you don't name it till it's done, right? So maybe you think that you're gonna make grilled yams, but in fact, you just made whipped yams, you just didn't know it, okay? So a terrible whipped yam, or a terrible grilled yam can turn into a great whipped yam. All right, so I have all these cut up nice. All right, and again, this you could do a day ahead too if you want it, and you can just lay these on a plate and have them ready to go for the next day. Well, we're gonna go ahead and grill these. So I'm gonna stop this video, reset up so that we can see my stove, and I'll show you the magic of grilling them. All right, back in a second. Okay, here we are at the stove. Now, a couple things. First, I'm gonna turn on my grill. If you don't have one of these grills, that's fine. You can use a regular grill pan. But I do want to get this hot before we grill. Now there's a couple choices to make here that I didn't mention to you. First, we need some wonderful kind of fat. So butter, totally fine. And if you want to keep them vegan, I often use Earth Balance, which is a combination of whipped oils. Okay, and then we need the sweetener. Now, absolutely, they need some nice, pure maple syrup. That's 100% maple syrup, not maple syrup and corn syrup, if you can. And I also like to use a little bit of organic sugar. You can leave this part out, but they're going to be a little bit nicer. Now, I recognize that there's a thing called Southern yams, which are done a little bit differently. Usually you take the raw yam itself and cook it in a lot of sugar. So these are going to have less sweetener than Southern yams. But I just love the flavor. And I call them grilled, but you can see I'm doing it not, you know, they're flat grilled. Okay, so once this starts getting warm, I'm going to add my choice of fat and give it a nice dousing there all over the place. And it's really important that this get warm before you put your yams down, so you want to smooth that around there. Okay. Let that melt in there. And let that get warm. And this is going to take a little time, but that's okay. So you want to just, you can feel it with your hand, and you can also start seeing little bubbles starting to happen. Okay. Now I've got my yams, so remember these can be done the day ahead. If you do them the day ahead, I'd recommend getting them out of the refrigerator so that you're not putting them on the grill absolutely cold. But at the same token, don't make them really hot either, because they'll start getting mushy. Okay, so they're still nice and firm. So I'm just gonna lay my yams down right on here. Actually, looks like that could go a little bit warmer. Oops, that one still has some skin on it. Well, that's okay. All right. So, get some grilling happening here. Now, if you have a bigger grill, the heating element for me under this isn't that great. If you have one of those stoves that has a really big heating element, you could probably stack a whole lot more yams on here than I'm stacking on. But really what we're doing is we're just grilling them. So, and I might fast forward a little bit in this video so you don't take as long, but we're gonna let these grill for a little bit. It's gonna take 2 or 3 minutes. So we're gonna fast forward, and then we'll come back and we'll flip them. Now right now, the only thing that's there is straight up yams. Oh, I forgot the salt. Let's just get a little pinch of salt. And I use some sea salt. This is the point I put a little bit of salt in. Up until now, I haven't done any salt at all. So I'll just go ahead and pinch a little bit of salt on top of each yam. And when these flip over, then that salt, which is going to get nice and warm, will melt in and just add some flavor. And you can start to hear it sizzling now a little bit. So I'm going to actually let these sizzle for a while. I want to get them so that they're brown on the other side, but not 100% done. Then we're gonna add our sweetener and we're gonna flip them over, okay? So we'll let these grill for a couple minutes and I'll be right back and we will see what happens next. And as you can see, now, it's about at this time where they've gotten a little bit of browning that I go to the next step, which is my sugar. Now, if you don't like using cane sugar, just skip this part and you're gonna go with just the maple syrup. But I do, in this case, use a little bit of cane sugar. I don't use a lot of sugar in my cooking, but hey, it's the holidays and I don't know, it seems appropriate. And I also try to honor the tradition. Now, I'm sure when I grew up, my mom used a whole lot of sugar on this, but I'm going to use less. So, a little bit of sugar, and I'm just going to sprinkle a few sugar granules on each yam. Just a little sugar sprinkles. Okay. And again, what's going to happen as that yam gets hot, that sugar is going to start to melt down into the yam. So, a lot's happening right now. We've got the browning happening, we have the salt melting down into the yam, which is helping to enliven the yam. I always say that salt is the ingredient that wakens up the rest of the food. So the salt's waking up the yams and saying, hey yams, come on out, it's time to bring your flavor out and play. And then we sprinkle the sugar in, and you can watch as that sugar starts to melt. That means that the top of your yam is getting some radiant heat. Even though the heat's coming from the bottom, top of the yam is starting to get some heat too. So let's take a peek, flip it over. Okay, we've got some nice browning happening. So I'm gonna do 2 flips. My first flip just has the sugar on top. And I'm gonna go ahead and flip it. The rest of that sugar is gonna start to sear. Okay, nice, see? Got some nice color there. Hope you can see those colors, nice colors. Okay. Nice. All right. Now, this is starting to get going. Sometimes you're going to notice that the grill looks dry, and if the yams look too dry, you can go ahead and add a little bit more fat to the top of your yams. You could even just baste them a little bit with a little bit of fat, and that's okay. And you want to do that if they look too dry, because these are not fun if they're dry. Okay. So a little bit of butter and or your vegan butter. Now they're starting to get going on the other side. Have their butter on top. Now this is where I add my maple syrup. You don't want to add the maple syrup too soon because the maple syrup is wet and it's going to just make a big mess of your grill. So you want to wait until the yams are mostly cooked. Now of course they're already cooked because we boiled them, but you know what I mean, that they're grilled. All right, so we have our maple syrup. Now I'm going to do the thing that my husband can't stand when I do, which is I take the cap and I'm going to pour some maple syrup in there. Don't tell him I'm doing this. Of course, that's a silly thing to do. Now you have maple syrup in your cap and it's going to make a mess. But anyway, so I'm going to just pour a little maple syrup on top of each yam. Now really, this is up to you. If you want to go crazy and have those super sweet yams, you can just douse a whole bunch of sugar and maple syrup on the top. I like to keep it, you know, within reason. These are not supposed to be dessert. They are supposed to be dinner. All right. So we've got some sugar cooking here. Remember, we've done some salt, a little bit of salt. We've done sugar on both sides, and then a little bit of maple syrup on this top side. And I'm going to wait and peek at the point where I feel like the underside has also been browned. I'm going to go back to the top side one more time. Okay, so now that maple syrup that I've put on top is all getting all nice and brown. Yum. And you know what? I'm going to turn my vent. I should probably turn my vent on. I'm going to turn my vent on. Just a little bit. Hopefully you can still hear me. Because I don't want my alarm going off. And these are just about done. So let me get a plate. And look at these beautiful yams. And they really are just so lovely. And again, you have some choices to make. You want them like extra kind of fatty, add some more butter. If you'd like to have them a little bit more sweet, add some more sweetener. And if you'd like them just like I do, kind of just a little bit of fat and sweet, this is what you got. You've got some nice caramelization there. You have the sweetness of the sweet potato itself, as well as the lusciousness of the butter. And there is my mother's and my grandmother's traditional Thanksgiving treat. So yams or sweet potatoes, boiled, grilled, wonderful. I hope you enjoy it. Whatever special things you have at your holiday meal, maybe go down to the comments and let us know what are the special things you do that maybe your parents did or your grandparents did that you've brought forward for you. I'm going to, since it's only early in the week, I'm going to go ahead and have me a little yam snack now. Well, these are very yummy, and I'm enjoying them a lot, and I hope you enjoy them as well. Please, whatever you do this holiday season, have a wonderful time. Go down in the comments. Let me know if you try these. I'd love to hear what your experience was, and maybe you have your own recipe that you want to share. Let's share some holiday recipes. I'd love to try something that's passed down in your family as well. So, buon appetito, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.